Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. We're going to be continuing our animation series, today doing a walk cycle with our little droid. Let's get started. Okay, so I hope you really have enjoyed the last animation tutorial we did using the little droid that we made. And I've started up here on Gumroad just to point out if you'd like to skip the modeling and the rigging and the texturing tutorials that I've made for this little guy, you can actually go on to Gumroad and just buy them outright, download the model, and just start off with this fully rigged model ready to go. So if you just want to do the animation tutorials, I'm going to skip out on that stuff. I'd come do that here. So you can find it. The link is in the description of the video. You can also find it just on Gumroad if you search C. Bailey Film Droid Rig, and that will pop it up. And here it is. You just go through that. So just wanted to point that out to you. Now here we are with our little rig. Now some of you may have noticed if you've been following along. I don't know if you caught everything like in the last tutorial. I'll just repeat. One of the problems that happened was the material, the texture that we had on this guy was moving around when we started to animate him. It was like sliding across his body. And that has to do with using the object coordinate in the shader. So if we come over to the shader editor, over here to our texture coordinate node, we were using the object output. And when you're doing that and you're using a rig that's rigged with bones, you're going to end up having a material that slides across. If you don't have bones, you're just animating the material by itself. It's fine. You're not going to have a problem with that. But we were having that issue. So we had to switch over to generate it. So that's just something to keep in mind for yourself there. Today's plan is we're going to be making a walk cycle. I thought it'd be really fun to walk through how to do a walk cycle. That was good. That was really good. That was funny. That was a joke. I hope you're laughing. Well, we'll use all the same techniques that we talked about in the last tutorial. So if you haven't watched that last animation tutorial, it's worth checking out. That you can find a link to that in the description below. So we're gonna be using our breakdowns, our in-betweens, and our keys to map out a walk cycle. Now, let me get for you real quick a reference. So if you just Google walk cycle and go to images, you're gonna get all these different reference points. And I pretty much do this every time I do a walk cycle, just to remind myself of the key poses. And that's because it's pretty much always going to be the same. Now, this is one of the classic ones right here. I actually learned on this image. This is from the book by Richard Williams. We can think about it in the way they've broken down these different labels, right? So you've got the contact pose. Now notice the contact pose. So the heel and the toe are both on the ground. They're making contact. We start and end with that. And that's because a good walk cycle is a loop. It just continually goes, right? So we've got the contact points. There's one in the middle as well. And then you've got sort of the right side and then the left side needs to take a step. So you've got 3 contact poses and you've got 2 transition phases where you've got these walks, right? And the walk bit consists of a down pose where the foot here flaps down and the character moves down. And this is really great for making a walk cycle look good, is you have that, you need to have a frame where the character is lower than usual, so really gone down. And then we've got the pass pose. And the passing pose is when you're passing the other leg forward. And this one you're always up higher than usual. So if you look at your contact pose, you can see that the down is below and the pass pose is above. So it's higher than, that's what this line is, this black line. It's kind of drawn here to show you how far he's passed above this point. Then we've got the up pose. And this one's really great for getting us into momentum because you see the character's gone up on their toe and they're kind of precarious. They're falling forward, basically. There's more of a lean. They've really straightened out their leg. They've really pulled up this one. It's ready to swing forward and catch that contact. And then he pops back down. This contrast of height really does a lot to emphasize the motion and the character of the walk. Once you get the basic walk cycle down, then you can affect it in really interesting ways by changing the timing of some of these poses to get really cool different types of walks, different types of characters. But that's later, but we'll get to that. First, we're gonna do a walk cycle. So I'm just gonna keep this up for myself as a reference. We're gonna do the same kind of thing with our character. It's gonna be a little different because we've got inverted legs, but we'll figure it out. All right, so let's jump in. Okay, so before we get started, there's just 2 little things I wanna add into my scene. The first is a ground plane. I wanna have a good ground plane that I can use as a reference point for walking. I wanna know when he's making contact. So I'm gonna Shift A, plane, scale it up, and I'm going to stick this at I'll just zero it out. And I think I'm going to move my rig up so that the feet are right on the ground there. Now, if you're wondering why I've got these cool colors on everything, what mode I'm in this mode right here, so viewport shading. And there's some settings that you can do just with this little drop-down menu. You can select different ways of coloring your scene when you're doing viewport shading. And I've set mine to matte cap, which matte cap is like, it's a simulated material. It used to be really cool before we had Eevee. Matte cap was great because you could like get shiny materials and stuff. It would be kind of put it across everything. But it was the closest thing we get to kind of seeing what a rendered shape would look like on an object. Now it's kind of redundant because we've got Eevee and we can actually have fully rendered stuff. But anyways, matte cap, and then I've set the color to random, so it's just giving me a random color project. Just a nice way to see things. It just makes it all a little bit clearer as you're working. So oh, that's right. I want to do a control bone. So here's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is have a master controller bone, and we're going to put it right at the base of our object. And the idea behind this is you want to be able to animate a loop, like a looping walk cycle, right? So you have your characters going to be walking basically in place, like their feet are sliding on the ground, right? And that's really important because what you want to do is be able to just animate those key poses and then just set it to loop and run forever. And then what you want to do is you want to have a master controller that all the rear bones are parented to, and then you just animate that master controller moving through your scene. That way it's a lot easier to control. So you've got the feet moving, they're walking, and the main bone then controls where you're going. So it can get really tough if you're doing a walk cycle and moving your character forward at the same time, because then you have to keep doing that walk cycle over and over and over again. And you got to get it right, and it's just way more work than you ever need to do. So really we just need to do those key step poses, those key frames, and then move our master controller to have our object just continue to move through the scene. So that's really the trick behind doing a good walk cycle. So in order to do that, I need to go into edit mode. And I need to grab my rig here. Actually, just make sure I've got my rig selected. Go into edit mode. And I'm going to hit, let's see, I'll just grab one of these bones because they're already down here. And I'll do Shift D and grab it on the X. And we're going to scale it up and grab it down. It's kind of arbitrary where we put this. It doesn't really matter as much. We kind of just want to put, it here, just kind of below the character. And big enough that it's like really easy to identify and grab. So, and let's see, that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure it's not parented to anything. Yep, this thing's not parented. So I know that because I've got this bone selected. It's highlighted here. It's called foot.r control 001, right? So foot R control, we've just duplicated that one. But all of these together are on the same line, right? That means that they're not parented to anything. They're just under the armature. So if I open up body, you can see all these are parented, and there's a hierarchy to these. What I want to do is I actually want to take this one right here, and I want to make this the master controller. So I'm going to double click on it to change its name. I'll call it master. And then what I'll do is I'll select these, just like that, and then I'll control click the master, and then I'll control P. And I'm going to make them parented, but I'm going to keep the offset. That means it's not going to try and connect these bones to this one. It's just going to put them all underneath it in the hierarchy. So now if I open up my armature, you can see master is the first one, and then everything else happens, right? So now if I go into pose mode, I can grab my master bone, and I can grab it, and it's going to move my entire rig. It's going to take it with it wherever we go. That's a lot easier to deal with, so that you can just animate moving the character wherever you want him to go while you have that loop, that animated walk cycle looping on the other bones. We've created the master controller bone, but now it's kind of really in the way. It's really big. It's kind of glary. So I'll show you how you can make little custom objects to help with your rigs, just to kind of clean up your space. Now, what you can do is you basically create another object, and you can, any object, and you can say, look, use this object instead of the bone wireframe to represent this object. So if we go here, I'm going to create a circle. So Shift A, mesh, circle. I'll put it back in the 0 position. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and Shift S and cursor to world origin. I'm just going to get that up so I can stop typing 0 all the time. And I'm just going to scale this thing. I mean, it's a good size, actually. That's about the right size I wanted. What I can do is I can select my rig, go into pose mode, select the bone that I want to change, and make sure I've got the green bone tab selected, and come all the way down to viewport display. Now you'll only get the viewport display option if you're in pose mode. There's a lot of options that only appear when you're in pose mode. So don't get confused. If you're in object mode or edit mode and you've got the bone selected, and you're like, where's that thing? Just keep reminding yourself, when you've got a rig, you've got to think about pose mode, edit mode, and object mode. They all give you different options. So, all right. So I can come up here and I can type in, it's circle.001, I'm pretty sure. Yep, there it is. Now you'll see that it moved back and it got bigger. Why did it do that? Well, the center of this ring is based on the head of the bone. So if you remember, the head of the bone is right here. So when I select that circle, you can see that circle is now centered around that. Now, it doesn't matter where that bone is in relation to the rest of the bones. Like we could have that master controller way off over here. It would still behave the same. So we can just clean it up by going into edit mode, grabbing it on the Y and moving it so that the head of the bone is kind of in the middle there. Roughly the center of gravity. And now I can go back to pose mode, come over to view, and select the circle. And there we go. Now we've got that nice circle. So now if I select this, you can see it's going to behave the same, but it doesn't show up in my render, and it's just a nice clean way of dealing with it. I'll just create a new collection, and I'll call it controllers, and I'll stick this in it. That way I can just untick that and just have them all hidden and not have to worry about it if I make any more. So I will update this on the Gumroad file. I'll pop that in so that if anyone gets it from this point forward, this will already have it set up. All right, so when we're doing a walk cycle, I like to actually go into the side view, and I think that it's just a bit easier to think about really looking at the scene flat. And what we want to do is we want to start off with that what's it called, the contact pose. Okay. So let's, in pose mode, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to save my project. So I'm going to grab one of my foot bones, and I'm going to grab it on the Y and slide it forward. And I'll grab this one on the Y and I'll slide it forward. We actually need to have the feet kind of angled a little bit as well. So I'm going to grab this foot forward, and then I'll grab, if you can't see, I'm grabbing the bone that's for our foot controller itself. And I'm going to rotate this guy. And then I'll grab the main controller and just stick it so that the heel is right there on the ground. And we'll bring this one back and up, and let's rotate this. I think we could actually rotate this toe a little bit as well. We do have that overlap, which is not ideal, but that's all right. That looks pretty good still. All right, so to set a keyframe for everything, I'm just going to hit I and whole character, and that's going to set a new keyframe there. And then I'm just going to grab the top summary keyframe. I've got my dope sheet open down here so I can see everything. And don't forget, turn off this only shows selected. This is what's on by default. If you turn that off, it's going to show you everything that's got a keyframe on it. So don't forget to do that. That really helps you see everything that's going on. Now I'm going to select here, I'm going to Shift D, and I'll just drag this out to the end because these are going to be the same. The start and end of our walk cycle are going to match. In fact, we're going to end up just getting rid of this keyframe and looping it so that it gets to the end. It just goes straight back to this one. But for now, we can keep that. Now you get this bright orange color between these because it's saying the information between all these keyframes is exactly the same. So nothing's changing. That's a really great visual clue from Blender to let you know, well, look, I haven't animated anything actually. These keyframes are a bit redundant. So I'm just going to come forward maybe like 3-4 frames. All right, so our next pose, I'll bring our thing up, is going to be the down pose. So he's putting weight on the front foot. All right, so again, I recommend always have this thing up if you're doing a walk cycle. It's just really helpful. All right, now I want to reset this bone back to its base position. Okay, and the easiest way to do that, instead of like, say it's some of these where they're a bit angled or whatever, instead of zeroing it out, one way that's easy to do is you come up here to the pose menu and go clear transform and then select what it is you want to clear. In this case, I want to clear the rotation. You can also get it from the F3 menu if you just type in clear pose, and then you can see here you get all the different pose clear options. You can just select one. So I'll bring that, and I'll bring this down like so, just kind of straight down, bring down our main controller like this, and I'll bring this one forward a bit and up, and I might rotate this one to kind of keep it in contact with the ground like that. And we'll see how this looks. I might rotate, can I rotate this one? No, it's the look control we need to do. I'll bring the look control down just so that we're not intersecting there. and I'll hit I and whole character once again. You can see that those orange bars disappeared. That's because now we've got keyframes that have different information. Now the key with this, we're going to look back and forth. the key with these keyframes. I am on fire today. See how the heel is sliding back? We pop down. Oh yeah, hold your mouse over your dope sheet and use the up and down arrow keys on your keyboard to snap between keyframes. Really great. See how he's moving back? It's like right here, and then he moves back all the way to here. You don't want that with this. You want the heel to stay in the same place, right? Because it's like the foot's just snapping down. So we need to come here and grab our master controller and grab it forward on the Y until it's in the right spot. I can just hit I and I can do the whole character again. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Now you can see it like collapse down. That's the right look. So the next is the pass pose. This is where we start to go up. Now, the thing with the pass pose is this foot that's just slapped down, it needs to slide to the center, okay? It always happens. It goes to the center and the leg straightens up and the body pushes up. So let's come forward another couple of frames. Again, kind of an arbitrary amount of frames. Not really sure how many I need to do. We'll find that out. I'll slide this back so the foot's kind of in the center. I'll grab this up like that so the foot's nice. The leg is nice and straight. I'll grab my look control. I'll bring it up as well. And then this one comes up and is coming across. Now this pose is where they're kind of like they're right on top of each other, the two legs. One's straight and the other one's always kind of right behind it. So if you look at the drawing reference, you can see here it's just right behind it. It's crossing behind the leg. You can see it's the only pose where it's like that. And that's a good way to remember this pose, is you're having the leg cross behind the straight leg. I will bring this one up, and it's like I'm preparing it to get into a position where it's going to go forward to begin to head to that contact pose. And I'm going to bring this one down a little bit because it looks like it's kind of dragging. It's kind of a nice look. All right, let's go I and whole character once again. And let's have a look. What do these look like? Forward, and this foot is preparing to get into the contact pose position. So put it like this, like that. And now the other key with this is that this is where the character is kind of leaning forward in their center of gravity. So I'm going to bring him forward like this, and I'm going to bring him up a little bit higher, not too much. And I will rotate this foot down, and I'll take the toe and I'll flatten the toe. Now we are going to get some intersect here. So what I might do is adjust this so that these are flat together, and then bring this back, just whatever would make sense with this robot. There we go. Now I can touch the ground with this one. So he's pushed off with his foot, and this one is moving forward to kind of basically catch himself. All right, let's hit I and whole character once again. So up, we're probably going forward a little too much here, but we can clean that up. 3 and 3. Again, this is just like a rough draft. You just got to get it down, and then you can adjust things to kind of get it just right. But the main thing is to get those main poses in. Okay, so now this one's going to, basically this is going to be a contact pose. So it's a duplicate of this, but with the legs flipped. So what I could do is actually what we could do is we could just Shift D that first keyframe and bring it here. And then we can flip the legs. So I'll bring this one back on the Y. Bring this forward on the Y. That's so funny. That's pretty great. And then we can flip this. Bring that like this. Bring this heel down. And do the same over here. Bring the foot forward. Oops. On the X. There we go. I, whole character. Now, bear in mind, so it looks a bit, funny, but it's supposed to be like he's walking, like kind of moonwalking, right, in place. And that's because we're going to animate moving forward. So the feet need to be sliding across the ground. So to get it to work between these two, one of the things I didn't do, what I should do, is I need to slide this foot back. That's why it doesn't quite work. So I've got him staying still. I'm falling into that trap of I'm animating him walking forward when I don't want to do that. I'm going to animate him sliding, and he needs to stay centered along this center area. And so that's why I get this problem where it feels, well, that's a big jump there. It doesn't quite feel right. Whereas all these, you can see he stays centered along that Z plane. So he's popping up and down. So let's grab this. Let's fix this keyframe. What's going on? Oh, it's because I'm in local. Sorry about that. If we switch to global, and I can grab them and move them back. Grab these guys back too, and I'll just full character just to make sure I've got that. So don't fall into that trap and I accidentally start animating your character moving forward. Remember, you've got to keep them centered while you're doing this. All right, so now we've got that complete step. And now what we're going to do is just do the same thing for the next leg. So this bit always feels tedious because you've just done it. And you're like, oh, finally, I got that walk cycle. And it's like, I got to do the whole thing again. What? But the other leg? But this is where you have to talk yourself into, you can do this. Psych yourself up, prepare yourself. You got the next leg. You can do this. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. Stuff like that. You need a mirror next to your computer, basically. If you're doing animation, you just constantly look to it. It's not for acting. It's for looking to it, talking yourself into just pressing on. Now this step looks a bit off, right? So if I compare these two, you can see this foot's forward more. That's actually going to have a look. It's going to look like he's kind of limping a little bit, which I don't quite want. So I think what I'll do is I'll match my character to this pose so that these two feel similar. Just keep jumping back and forth. Yeah, that feels pretty similar. They don't have to be exact, but just, vaguely similar. And that'll really help kind of even out the walk cycle. He's forward and up a little bit, so I might just grab him like that. Character, yeah, that looks pretty good. Now you can see that I haven't gone up, and that's not correct. I want to actually take the body up a bit higher. It says this one doesn't as well. Let's see if we can push it with both of these. I go up a bit and then rotate the foot a little bit more so there's contact. So whole character, and I'm going to do that here too. Go up a little bit more. Rotate the bone so we've got contact. Whole character. Yeah, cool. So now you can see from the past pose, the next pose we go up. All right, and next up we've got the final contact pose, which is this one over here, which we've saved right to the end. So just grab that, bring it right here. Let's see how well that lines up. So we go from this to this. That's correct, yeah? So that's how it feels in the middle. That's how it feels here. Very good, very similar. Perfect. All right, so now if I set my in-frame to 24, you can see 25 frames, right? If I set it to 24, then when it gets to the 24th frame, it goes, instead of going to 25 to show me that first keyframe, it goes to the first keyframe here. So it's a perfect loop. So now we can hit play. And now we got a nice little walk cycle. All right, now we want to take it off the step keyframes. So let's select all of our keyframes. You can just right-click on them. We can go interpolation, Bezier. And that's going to make them all nice and curvy. If you remember from last time, if we go to the graph editor, we can see our keyframes are like little stair steps. You probably can't see that as clearly. Sorry, here we go. See all these stair step keyframes. But if we right click, interpolation, Bezier, they all become nice and curvy. So the computer is now interpreting between everything to create our in-betweens. Oh, by the way, if you want to know how to full screen one of your things, you just control spacebar. That'll full screen any window. Very handy trick. Bonus thought for the day. All right, so now let's see what it looks like with curves. It's pretty cool. All right, so now how do you add more character to something like this, right? Got a little guy walking. Feels very peppy. He's got a lot of bounce in his step. This is where you can start to get really creative and think about shaping the character of your walk. If you didn't want him to be so peppy and you wanted him to be kind of defeated, you would take those up poses and actually bring them down low. So he kind of stays low. You maybe drag his head or maybe slow out the whole the whole, timing of your animation. If I just go back over to my dub sheet, it's a bit easier to see and control when you're in the dub sheet. You could also change the timing of some of these, right? So I could say I want my ups to be fast and I want my downs to be slow. So if I grab all these guys and just drag them out, drag my timeline out as well. So it goes up, and then the down is a bit slower. So instead of 3 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this one, we could make it fast. See, it totally changes the way he feels. Now he's like really peppy, Yeah. Anyways, I hope you found this really, really helpful, and it's beginning to, I guess, grow your vocabulary of character animation, how to do it, what it takes, and what you can create on your own. So I hope you really enjoyed watching this tutorial. If you liked it and you really enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Please leave a comment. Both of those things do a lot to help other people find this video, and more people find the channel, which really helps it grow, which helps me continue making these videos. So thank you for subscribing as well. And for everyone that's joined the channel members, thank you so much for being a part of the channel. And thank you to everyone on Patreon as well. You guys are amazing. Really appreciate all the support everyone's been throwing my way and helping me to grow this channel. We've almost hit 8,000 subscriptions, so it's pretty exciting. I'm getting very close to the big 10K. I can't wait to hit it. We'll have to do some kind of special celebration when we get there. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next tutorial. See you later. Bye.